Frank Sinatra, the Rolling Stones, the Doobie Brothers, Yogi Berra, the former catcher of the Yankees, quarterback Joe Namath of the Jets, and quarterback Johnny Unitas of the Baltimore Colts all have something in common. They all drooled at the tasty thin crust layered with cheese, smothered with sweet sauce, and a generous helping of toppings at Ledo's Pizza. And this video tells the story of how the business became a sensation among Maryland locals and top celebrities. Each American city has its style of cooking a particular dish. Runza and B-Rock are the same, but called different things in different places. In Nebraska, it's Runza, and it's a round pastry. But in Kansas, it's B-Rock, and it's square. What the two dishes also have in common is that they have become part of what makes up the soul of their respective communities. But we aren't here to talk about Runza. We've done it in another of our videos. We want to talk about a tasty pizza, Maryland's yummy answer to the New York, Chicago, New Haven, St. Louis, and Old Forge pizza styles. So how did Maryland get to have their own pizza identity? It began with a man who had absolutely no idea what he was doing, and his partner. Bob Beal didn't know anything about making pizzas. He was a tobacco farmer and a liquor inspector, but he had a keen eye for business. It was his liquor inspector job that gave him an insight into how much he could make if he entered into the food business. The man examined the financial books of different restaurants, and he wanted in on the action. But Bob didn't know a single thing about making food or the food business. Then came Tommy Marcus Sr. in 1955, who knew how to make pizzas. The two opened a pizzeria, with Bob putting his understanding of business to work and having them situate their building at University Boulevard, Adelphi, Maryland. They named their business Lido, which Tommy allegedly chose because he was looking for the shortest Italian name that wouldn't take up much space on the signs. Initially, the two men didn't focus on pizzas. They sold mainly Italian-American dishes, with pizza being on the menu as one of the dishes. But through trial and error, they found what worked for them. Pizzas. Customers loved their pizzas, even if they were slightly different from how other pizzas looked. Rather than the round pizzas that people were used to, Bob and Tommy made square-shaped pizzas, and the reason for this is quite understandable. Scarcity. The round pans were not in surplus and were a novelty. But would the partners let this stop their pizza ambitions? Heck no! They went ahead with the squared pans and began to use the slogan, "Ledo Pizza is square, because we don't cut corners." Creative, isn't it? The company also said that their squared pizzas offered more than the round pizzas, which allowed its sellers to cut corners. Then they unleashed the giant pepperonis, so big that a square slice of pizza had a giant pepperoni sitting on it. It was a treat that people loved and couldn't get enough of. Lido Pizza's uniqueness wouldn't have made sense without two things: its location and their promotional style. Bob outdid himself with the location he chose, as it helped bring in university students. Imagine students working hard all day and leaving campus to be greeted by the sweet smell of pizza leaving the oven. They didn't have to cook. They could just pop into Lido, eat pizzas, and unwind. But Bob wasn't only thinking of the students. He also chose the place because it wasn't far from a dry county. This meant that even if they wouldn't be eating, customers could come in for a refreshing cold bottle of beer. Bob had an ultimate goal. He wanted to make his business a place that would become part of the community's heartbeat. He introduced the promotions. Now, there are promotions, and there are promotions. What Bob offered as a reward for people patronizing his business was just class. Who offers a toaster to celebrate those who came to eat at their place? Bob, that's who. Now you might think, what's all the fuss about a toaster? Nowadays, nothing. But in the 50s, having a toaster was a novelty. Beal wasn't done. He had more tricks up his sleeve. One thing bound communities together, and Beal knew he had to make the pizza business a place for that thing. And if you like to learn about the history of your favorite eateries, be sure to subscribe for more content like this. Sports. It has a way of bringing a community together and making them a unit. The identity sports create runs deep, and Bob, being a minor league baseball pitcher himself, knew he had to make his place a joint for the sports fans. Beal knew the big sports guys and enticed them to come to Lido Pizza. They came, and the university students turned the pizza restaurant into an extension of their institution. Business boomed. But Beal wasn't thinking about expanding. However, that was about to change, and that change had some interesting consequences. Bobby and Jamie Beal, Bob's sons, joined the business in the mid-80s, and he immediately began to look at franchising and trying out different styles of operations. Bobby wanted to use the franchise to create dine-in, sit-in, and carry-out locations, so he approached his dad on how they could spread the gospel of their delicious large pepperoni and sweet sauce Maryland-style pizza. Bob agreed to Bobby's suggestion, and by 1986, they began to sell licenses. They began to expand and opened 3 to 5 locations each year. Lido's top men educated the franchise owners on the recipes and their operational model to maintain quality. The men emphasized the need to keep a family atmosphere and make the business part of the community. But Lido's Pizza wasn't looking at its own community within the company. Tommy, Bob's partner, wanted out. He sold his part of the franchise and returned to own and manage the original location in a Delphi shopping center near the University of Maryland, College Park. Bobby continued to expand and franchise until Jamie took over from him in 1998. Then, it became a tale of 2 Lidos. Jamie changed how Ledo Pizza worked when he took over as the man overseeing operations. His brothers were present and involved, but they left him to mold the company in his vision. Jamie brought the company to modern times and made it adapt to technology. The locations now offer POS services and people can order online. Although unlike in New York, other locations of the business don't do delivery. You would have to go to the store to eat there or pick it up yourself. So why is the New York location doing delivery? Competition. New York and pizza are like 2 peas in a pod, and if a business isn't keeping up with the competition, then bye-bye to it. While changes were significant, it didn't affect the core of the business. The company still tried to be part of every community its locations were in, and you know what that means. It still loved sports and supported the local teams in its communities. The Beals Lidos became a long-term partner of the Baltimore Ravens. In 2022, they offered a Ravens football deal, an 18-inch pizza with 2 toppings and a side of a big order of cheesy garlic bread and a half pound of boneless wings for $36.99. The business also promised to do other promotions for the Ravens. Also in 2021, the business swooped in on Maryland Terrapins forward Donta Scott, taking advantage of the changes in NCAA policy in name, image, and likeness. Donta Scott served as the company's brand ambassador in 2022. That same year, the business also approached Dante Demas Jr., who fans considered the best wide receiver of the Maryland Terrapins football team. Beals Lidos now has over 116 locations which cover areas like New York and Tampa, Florida. But there are some allegations against the company that some of its locations offer inferior quality. But the company doesn't accept this as it has a working model to prevent bad quality. With the creation of regional offices in charge of every 20 stores, the enterprise believes their quality reigns supreme. The manager of these regional offices is responsible for marketing, training, and menu consistency in the businesses within their region. But with these allegations against them, their regional office for 20 stores needs to be re-examined. However, despite complaints, the business is getting requests from people who would want to be a part of the franchise. Tommy brought in his sons Tommy and Jimmy Marcos Jr. The trio began to run the business when Tommy broke away from the franchise in 1994. Like the other Lido, they had the same approach. Their original building was already known to the community, so they continued as they did. The family developed a strong relationship with the community and had long-term staff, some of which had been with them for 8 to 12 years. The business also had loyal customers who had been patronizing them since they were kids. Tommy Sr. was also a great sports lover and a member of the Terrapin Club since 1958. As a member, Tommy Sr. always went to the Terrapin team's home and road basketball and football games. Eventually, the Marcoses closed down the original location in 2009 and moved to downtown College Park in 2010. Their culture remained the same, and the business continued to be the home of sports with Tom McMillan, who played for the Terrapin basketball team before moving to the NBA and eventually becoming a congressman. But the Marcoses couldn't hold on to their business, as in 2021, Tommy sold the company to the management group Chesapeake Hospitality. The management group wanted Marcos to have a constant role on recipes, and they went on to renovate the space before eventually reopening it. Ledo Pizza has a history as rich as its pizza. They have managed to avoid controversies and continue to present as a place where family, friends, and members of the community can catch up and have fun. But would it have been better if Marcos remained with the franchise, or did they make the right decision to leave the franchise? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to support our channel.